Hey guys, welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. In today's video we have a very special guest who is here to talk about applying for history at Oxford or Cambridge. So if you're looking to apply for history, keep watching. Okay guys, let's go. So our guest today is Ollie Scott. Hi Ollie.
Hi Sonny, how are you doing?
I'm great, yourself?
Yeah, not bad.
So guys, listen, Ollie is super smart because Ollie graduated from, Ollie, what college?
I was at Downing College, Cambridge.
Ollie graduated from Downing College, Cambridge with a first class degree in history, and those of you watching from overseas, first class is basically like the best. Not only that, Ollie also got the third highest mark in his year, and for context, it's like pretty difficult. Like it's very difficult. So just walk us through how do you go about applying to Oxbridge for history? Does it start with UCAS in the same way, or?
Yeah, it's slightly different insofar as it's earlier. It's a while ago since I did it, so I can't remember the exact dates, but your personal statement needs to be off sort of midway through the first term. So you kind of want to be thinking about that, frankly, around now, if you're going to be applying. But that goes in through UCAS. Cambridge, you have to do an SAQ. I think it's SAQ. It's sort of a supplementary thing. I wouldn't really worry about that if you're applying for history. We can talk about that a bit more in a minute if anyone wants to. Then there'll be an admissions test, which again should happen around slightly later in the first term. You'll typically be asked to submit some kind of essays, maybe one or two to your college. By the way, I forgot to mention, you do apply directly to a college. Or you don't need to. I think you can do an open application. I don't know how many. I applied directly to a college. And then if you did well in that, you'd be invited to interview, which normally happens around December. And then Oxford and Cambridge have slightly different interview processes.
Cool. Well, let's dive in. And by the way, guys, we have a separate extensive video on filling out the UCAS application on this channel. Check it out here. But just summing up before you can sort of give us your full answer, Ollie. So it starts with UCAS application. It has to be in by 15th of October of the academic year, both for Oxford and for Cambridge. And important thing to remember that your school reference also has to be in. So if you've got everything ready, but your teacher is messing around, or you informed her 3 days before and expect her to do it sort of, in 48 hours or 72 hours, you may be in trouble. So really good idea to start it nice and early. Our students, we normally start with them, a year early, just with the personal statement and stuff. So you submit the UCAS form, personal statement, all of that. Then there is the extra test for Oxford, HAT. Is there an extra test for Cambridge as well?
Yeah, when I did it, it was called the HAA. It might have changed its name by now to something slightly different, but it's a very similar kind of process.
Great. So yeah, you have those basically two tests. Then for Oxford, you have to submit extra written work, so a couple of your essays, and I'm guessing that's sort of the SAQ equivalent in Cambridge.
So at Cambridge, the SAQ is I think it's an opportunity to write an extra personal statement and fill in some kind of extra details about yourself. It mainly applies because there are subjects offered at Cambridge, like natural sciences, that aren't really offered elsewhere. So if you're applying to chemistry everywhere else, you might be able to tailor it. I wouldn't worry about it for history. It's not much of an issue. I think your college will decide what written work you send in. Downing, you have to send in two pieces of written work, so quite similar.
2 pieces. So just to kind of not confuse you guys, so you have the UCAS forms, and then Cambridge has this SAQ, which is basically UCAS on steroids, kind of an extension of that. Oxford doesn't have that. But both universities have the extra test. They're called different, but it's the same thing. And both universities are likely to demand extra written work from you. And that written work is kind of, is it something you just make up, or your teacher grades it? Like, how do you go about it?
I think again, your college will probably give you advice. I think the idea is that it's something you've written during the course of your year. So that's what I submitted, which is 2 kind of essays I wrote actually during an exam, I think. It doesn't need to be perfect. the sort of idea is you might, even if it's, the idea is you might, have actually reflected on the work you've done. So if something you've done is slightly wrong, you could then go into the interview and correct yourself. That would be quite a positive. It's possible that if you're applying to Oxbridge in the first term of year 13 or upper sixth, a teacher might set you an essay with the intention that would be sent off. But it shouldn't be getting any extra marking or anything like that.
No, and also a lot of students make this, well, in my opinion, error where they think, well, this extra submitted work has to be perfect, and we have to get 20 out of 20. But actually, look, at least in my experience, it's been that colleges know, because you do it independently, your teacher can help you, whatnot. So it's not.
They're not going to read the marks. They don't care about the marks because they have no idea what the marking criteria are. Well, they might do, but it's not going to be the same as what they use in university. And totally, as you said, if anything, it's almost better if you can go in and say, oh, I might have changed that, because it shows you're actually able to reflect on work you've done and you're still thinking about stuff, as opposed to trying to write the perfect essay, which you'll never be able to do anyway. But
no. No, guys, this is coming from number 3 at Cambridge for history, so pretty depressing thought. Cool. All right. Well, look, let's just dive in deeply into the personal statement. So, history is a relatively popular subject, at least in the UK, but also internationally. Yeah. So, and there aren't many kind of internships or work experience you can do around history. So, what do you put in your personal statement? How do you make yourself stand out?
Yeah, I think I would treat the personal statement as a little bit like an analysis. So what I wouldn't do is just list 20 books I've read. That would be very impressive if you read 20 books. But if you just say I read them and you don't do anything, that's a bit like just putting loads of evidence in an essay and not explaining it. So I would be thinking less is more, maybe 3 or 4 points where you've really drawn something out of either what you're studying at school. So for example, maybe you looked at the French Revolution at school, perhaps you then read a book on the American Revolution, you did something extra, and then you could explain maybe what some of the links were between it or what you thought. You'd also of course want to say why you want to study history. That would be important. So I could keep going. I don't know, this might be quite a long answer.
No, that's right. And by the way, guys, those of you who haven't, I write a newsletter that I send out every 3 weeks, and I put out CV building opportunities that I share that through our network we're aware of, and we share them. They're all free of charge. They all can be done remotely, and you have stuff like conferences at Oxford and Cambridge, seminars at Harvard and Stanford, workshops, and for different subjects. Some of them are history as well, or history related. So if you can plug into your personal statement a line like, at school we did the French Revolution, this inspired me to, I don't know, Ollie, what's a good book on French Revolution?
Oh dear, let's say Tim Blanning or William Doyle on the French Revolution would probably be the classic.
Okay, great. This inspired me to read Doyle's book on French Revolution. The idea of acts really stood out to me. And this inspired me to take part in this Stanford University online workshop on French Revolution, or whatever, on historical analysis, hosted on Zoom in October 2021. So, you don't necessarily need to know somebody or to have special connections or to be, like special unique access to write an amazing personal statement that you can, as long as the story adds up and you can link it all together.
Yeah, and like you also don't have to agree with everything the person sort of has written. You could do, you might take issue at something. You could have read something else that contradicts something you read earlier. Another place, most colleges will have kind of an access site where you should be able to find a lot of personal statements that were written by people who got in. So it might be worth trying to locate a few of those as well. Could give you some ideas. No,
that's right. And Ollie, just touching on your previous point about disagreeing with something. What if, let's say, I read this guy William Doyle's book on French Revolution, and I think it's rubbish. I think it's total crap. Is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous to to disagree with, given that this must be an expert in the field and, probably knows, the people interviewing you probably grew up reading his work?
Well, it depends how you disagree. If you just say it's all wrong, I mean, it's quite hard, I think, to write a history book that's entirely wrong. It definitely is possible, but you'd be more sort of thinking, was there a certain area perhaps that he underemphasized? That's quite a diplomatic way of saying it. Or was there an area he could have looked in slightly more depth? Or perhaps, which might be really good, is if you've done a completely different topic and you read an approach they were doing there, say like history in the world, where they compared X to Y. Maybe William Doyle didn't do that. Could he have compared the French to the Haitian Revolution, because they were going on at similar times and very interlinked, and maybe that's the way to do it. I wouldn't just say he got it all wrong, because he probably didn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so well respected.
No, that's an interesting point. So you're saying it's okay to disagree as long as you argue for your point,
and substantiate it as well. And you never know, like historians will disagree as well, and you might get unlucky and you disagreed with sort of a point that your interviewer totally agrees with, but you can't really mitigate for that so long as you do things sensibly. No, I think that'd be a good idea. But remember, like, the purpose of history generally is to try and build up knowledge. So if you're going to disagree with something, suggest what you might have done differently, or how another historian has done this better. Otherwise, you're just sort of firing shots and not doing anything afterwards.
No, and it's totally okay, right, to write something like, I've read the famous work of, William Doyle and his argument, but actually I feel now the argument is outdated because of the new evidence and the works of, I don't know, John Smith and
That'd be brilliant if you can do that. You're firing on all cylinders, and that'd be really great. So yeah, give that a go.
Cool. So yeah, if you're writing a history personal statement, find an outdated idea and then critique it. Cool. All right, Ollie. So let's say you keep rising up this Oxbridge pyramid, and you've made it past you've submitted UCAS. Clearly impressed somebody, or they made a mistake, but somehow you made it to the interview. So you're now down to kind of 3 people per place, maybe 4 people per place.
Around that.
Down from what, 12, 15?
Yeah.
Or, maybe 10.
You've done very well if you get to interview, so that's a positive thing.
So how do you impress them now? And what are the tutors looking for?
I'd say you're normally going to have 2 interviews, at least 2. So I mean, just bear that in mind. If you don't think one went very well, at least you've kind of got another shot there. The tutors are going to be most likely historians. You might get like a classics professor, so they're going to be looking for, historical acumen. What they're not looking for is, have you just read a huge amount and then not really reflected on it. I think they'd be much more interested in if you read something small or not so lot, but you've really thought about it. I think they're probably looking for self-reflectiveness. So this would work if you get asked about your essays. What could you have done slightly differently? And then maybe sort of an awareness of how history as a discipline operates. What sort of stuff might a historian have done? So if you've written an essay, for example, you've most likely got all your information from a textbook or from another historian. What would William Doyle have done? Because he will probably be going into primary sources, so it might be worth thinking about that a bit. But in general, just to sum up, it'll be potential and sort of analytical thinking, not just how much you've read.
Not just the knowledge. And just on this note, let's we're going to wrap up this video, and Ollie very kindly agreed to do a separate video just speaking about the interview, which is going to appear on our channel, so check it out. But if you haven't already purchased William Doyle's book on Amazon,
I hope I got the name right. It might be the wrong name. I think it's William Doyle.
Ollie, you should get an Amazon referral link, because there'll be
this could be brilliant. This could be a real money maker.
Exactly, floods of students going on Amazon buying William Doyle's books. But Ollie, this has been very practical, kind of no nonsense advice. Thank you. So just 3 kind of outside of the interview, what are your top 3 tips for aspiring historians who want to kind of succeed in the, through this UCAS process, through writing the personal statement?
Yeah, I'd say number 1, take a step back. There's a tendency, once you start reading, you're going to realise how little you really know about the subject, and you'll keep reading more, and then you can kind of pigeonhole yourself, or you could get a little bit, you could just do too much. So take a step back. Number 2, if you start the process early, that's a real benefit, because it gives you time to rewrite, re-go over things. If you start it late, you'll be okay. Don't worry, it's not like you have to do it early, but that would be really helpful. And then I guess number 3 is just curiosity. It's probably really what they're looking for. They're not expecting finished products. Just if you've actually got a bit of an interest, don't just look into a topic because someone says that's what you should do to get into Oxbridge or to impress them. Like, only look at stuff you're actually interested in, because anything you write in that personal statement they could pick up, and it'll be quite obvious quite quickly if you really hate it or you don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, that would be sort of 3 things.
That's great. Ollie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really big thanks. Guys, if you like this video, do hit like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, do check it out. It could be really useful to you. And don't forget to buy Wingall's book.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Cheers, Ollie.
Cheers. Thank you.